Could the Oilers actually be seriously looking at acquiring this guy?
These are illegitimate rumors, near as I can tell them. Not to rain on anyone's parade, and certainly not to call into question some reporting from Darren Dreger on Insider Trading, a friend. But in this case, near as I can tell, the Sharks internally, this seemed to be news to them, that they would potentially be interested in Erik Karlsson. And what's interesting, Jay, listening to you talk about it is I don't think you have a super firm grasp on how tough that contract is to move, because if the Sharks are retaining any bit of it, they're not going to get much in return. And if they're not retaining any of it, they're getting nothing in return. So the way it was framed to me today when I asked around about this deal was, okay, let's say from an Oilers perspective, this was like a who says no type proposition that was put to me. And it was Puljujärvi in exchange for Karlsson and the Sharks retaining 50%. And I said, okay, so tell me who says no. And the answer was the Oilers say no.
I mean, that Jay, that like I'm dumbfounded.
Did I just make everyone like we're Mike's
I
here? Like what just
happened?
happened?
$11.5 million cap hit is very intense to take on, and they can move on from Puljujärvi in 4 months. So they've totally opened up space for them. So I understand that, but still, it's Erik Karlsson. But you need a team that's willing to take, like the Oilers aren't willing to take on 11.5. Like we can't fit it, so we need them to.
You said 50% though.
Oh, you said. Oh yeah, fuck.
Oh,
Why would the Oilers say no, Frank? Why would the Oilers say no?
Well, because then they also have to pay Bouchard, and maybe right now he's obviously not as good, clearly, but like showed something last year to the point where they might have a $1 million version of Erik Karlsson right now that is then going to get in the way of whatever they'd like to do later.
The two.
I knew that would set up.
Walk me through how they're the same person.
No, not saying at all they're the same person. Saying that if Karlsson makes 11.5 and Bouchard makes under 1, and obviously he needs a big raise to get part of the way to that next deal. But as a 43-point defenseman last season and doesn't have the injury history that Karlsson has, doesn't have the contract and the term at this moment, doesn't have a lot of the other baggage that comes with it, which, by the way, would also include Erik Karlsson waiving his full no trade to come to Edmonton, which I think is a hard enough sell as it is, that maybe they're better off just maintaining the assets that they have, re-signing Bouchard and seeing him take sort of the next step in his career, and then having that moving forward instead of the potential baggage that comes with Karlsson.
4 more years, that is pretty intense. And he's injury prone, right? Like you can see the games played on his chart there.
My question to you, Frank, and like I said, I agree with the logic, but can we not agree that the Oilers, like, their window is now, and we need to do things to address that?
We can agree with that, and I would actually say that that's probably the motivation for why something like this was reported, was to more or less throw some raw meat at the fan base, which is exactly what you guys are chewing on today, to say that this team needs to make things happen. Like, they're in a critical year with their core. They made strides last year. Missing the playoffs is not an option. And that basically it's a signal to everyone else in the front office that changes need to be made in terms of getting this team heading in the right direction. And so I fully believe that the Oilers are going to be a big player, but I still, at this very moment in time, have a hard time believing that the big swing that the Oilers are going to take their bat off the shoulder for is going to be for a defenseman.